Good evening, folks. This is Andy Pedraza with Special Effects Academy. We're on the start of the week session for October 25th of 2020. We will be going through our standard agenda, look at the prior week's results, our currency strength meter for the past week and month, fundamental announcements on the calendar, a look at the major pairs on the daily charts, any setups we see in progress, and a few words in conclusion. Starting with the ledgers, long-term ledger, we're up about 3 percentage points or so. We really played the pound in both directions for all it was worth. We haven't had a sustained push yet, so we're taking smaller profits, but we are moving in the right direction. So this account is nicely up. The intermediate term ledger is also up about 3 percentage points. We didn't play the pound as heavily. We also played a few other moving pairs, but we did play the pound as well. So all in all, it was a pretty solid week. And the short-term ledger really shone this week. We were up 9+%, a little bit under 10 on just 4 trades. So we definitely latched on to winners, and really 3 of the trades were the ones giving us the profit. The 4th one was a little bit better than break even. So all in all, a good week. Notes and opportunities for improvement. Well, we are seeing high pound volatility as Brexit continues to play out. And of course, we are starting to see the dollar volatility as the election draws near, and it's bound to get even higher. We had gains on all 3 accounts, as we just saw, and last but not least, commodities such as oil, silver, gold, etc., do continue to hold or make gains. Our relative strength meter for the past month and week, if I may draw attention to the rightmost columns, monthly and weekly, our biggest mover was or has been silver for both the month and the week. It is nicely up. It hasn't broken previous highs from a few weeks ago, but it's sort of testing resistance yet again. So it's up almost 6% for the month and up 2% for the week. On the weekly, we can see that the bigger movers were, of course, the pound dollar. The Kiwi dollar was also a big mover, along with the euro dollar. So the dollar definitely didn't have a great week. Most of the movements are indeed on those dollar pairs other than silver. Yeah, pretty much everything across the board was movement on the dollar. Now, the pound did have some sharp movement, but it also retraced. So you're not going to see it on the weekly, but very good opportunities in both directions as the pound first gained strength and then quickly retraced about halfway back. Fundamental announcements for this coming week. It is interest rate decision week. We've got the Bank of Canada on Wednesday and Japan also on Wednesday, though much later in the day. And on Thursday, we have the European Central Bank. So that is 3 in 2 days. We will be trading all of those live as indicated on the screen. So check your emails for the exact time and date. Moving on to our chart, starting with oil, we can see that it is still trapped in a very tight sideways range, pretty much sticking close to the $40 per barrel price range, significantly off its previous range from before the COVID pandemic, but still a very nice recovery that seems to be holding. It's not moving down, not moving up, but it is holding its value. Moving on to the currencies, euro dollar has been in a bullish pattern for a few weeks now. It has yet to break the top of the chart, probably going to happen very soon. So we're on the lookout for that breakout. In the meantime, we will trade the intra-week movements as best we can. And indeed, we did quite well with this pair last week and I think the week before. Pound dollar, very bouncy. We see that huge push up on Wednesday, followed by 2 days of retracing almost back to the middle of that big push. So it did end the week higher than it began, but did suffer retraces on the last couple of days. I think between the fact that the dollar is going to very likely get weaker, plus the pound is probably going to have more good news than bad as Brexit plays out, we may see a break of the top, and that is about 500 pips higher than it is right now. So that is a great opportunity waiting to happen. USDJPY is still playing with support. Big push on Wednesday as the dollar weakened, but then it sort of slowed down and did nothing much for the remainder of the week. We're still waiting for a breakout in either direction. USD same thing, very flat, sticking to the 131.25 or thereabouts as intermediate support. It's off its most recent high and off its most recent low. So pretty much trending sideways with definitely a more of a bearish slant than anything else. USD Swiss trying to break support at long last. We saw a definite push down in the past month or so, as we can see from the very top of the Ichimoku cloud, crossing it completely, coming out at the bottom, and then getting stuck at support. I think there's a good chance of a push well below current price range, maybe into the 80s, but we'll have to wait and see that begin to happen before we trade it. Aussie dollar sideways, testing support multiple times. It looks like the Australian dollar is starting to run into headwinds. So even if the dollar weakens, I'm not sure the Australian is in a good position to take advantage of that. So this one may go sideways for a while, or indeed, even with a weakening dollar, this one may go towards the bottom. Kiwi dollar also sideways. I think there's a better outlook for the Kiwi right now than for the dollar. So my gut feeling is we'll have a breakout at the top, and it certainly seems to be moving in that direction. This is one of the few dollar pairs that, well, they all weakened or went into dollar weakness on Wednesday. So we see that big push, but this one didn't retrace at all. It just kept going slower, but still in the same direction. Aussie Canadian broke support early in the week and ended the week testing that new resistance, bouncing off it quite neatly on Friday. We'll have to see if we get a push down. This is another one that is on my radar for a breakout play. Euro Swiss still acting crazy, not giving us much to trade with. And even if it does give a valid signal, it's not moving very far. It has barely 100 pips inside that sideways channel, so not a whole lot for us to target for profit. Euro pound, multiple attempts to break support, didn't quite manage it. Again, I think that there's going to be upside for the pound, so we may see a break of that trend line at long last and a quick trip towards the bottom to the low 80s. Again, I'm very hopeful that it will happen. I think I have a pending order in that direction already on the long-term account, perhaps. We'll continue to let that ride. It's definitely more bearish than anything else, but it's having a lot of trouble breaking that support at the 90.25. So it's a waiting game. We'll have to see when it comes to us, but I think we're going to have a good opportunity here as well. EURJPY moving in both directions as it tests support and resistance. We do have a trend line break, but it's not a very decisive one. I would like to trade this one down. We need to see euro weakness come back into the market for this to play out. Between the euro weakening and the yen naturally strengthening, as that happens, this one is probably going to be a good opportunity as well for a trip towards the bottom, towards the 115, 114 level. Again, waiting for the valid trigger to come out. Euro Canadian testing support for the first time since mid-August. Support held, so it did bounce above early in the week and stayed above. It's also below the Ichimoku cloud, so pretty much trapped between support resistance. I think this is another one with a good chance for a trip towards the bottom, but again, wait for the valid signal. Pound JPY, gut feeling, and you guys know I don't trade predictions, but my gut feeling is that this one is going to have a quick trip towards the top, and we will be trading in that direction, preferably. If, of course, if it does break support, I'll go in the opposite direction. But I'm on the lookout for a bullish play on the pound JPY between now and the end of the year. It doesn't have to be immediate. Aussie JPY testing support along that very shallow trend line coming from way back and seems to be acting as very good support. Again, I don't think the Australian has a good outlook. And if the euro falters, then the yen is going to get stronger just by default. So this is another one where there's a huge gap between current price and the bottom levels of support. Definitely tradable. Wait for it. Euro New Zealand still more sideways than anything else. It's bouncing off the bottom of that shallow trend line coming from back in January. So beginning of the year, it hasn't been able to break above it, but it is climbing as it tested because the trend line is climbing. So we have a breakout from the downward trend line, but it's still trapped between support resistance. I think this is another one great opportunity in either direction. And this one, I'm agnostic. I don't care which way it goes. I just want to trade the breakout. Pound Canadian, a little bit of a crazier chart. We can see on Wednesday what happened. I mean, the pound clobbered the Canadian dollar. But then, as with most of the other pound pairs, it did retrace significantly Thursday, Friday. We traded this one down, actually. We didn't catch the big push up, but as soon as it bounced off of support, we started trading it down and made quite a nice bit of profit as a result. Pound twist more sideways than anything else. I'm still waiting for the breakout towards the top. We're already in the trade. We've been in the trade for a while. We were very, very negative. We recovered the bulk of that this week, only to see it retrace again Thursday into Friday. So again, it's a waiting game. So long as the outer trend line holds as support, we should be good. Eventually, I think this one is another pair that will shoot towards the top. And of course, the pound Australian has been the better mover among the pound pairs, at least the more reliable and consistent one. It's pretty much moving up, 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 broke the downward trend line, did do the same retrace Thursday into Friday that all the other pound pairs did. It was stopped at the trend line, and I've already got pending orders in place to take us in long again based on the weekly open. In fact, I think we already got taken in long when the market opened an hour ago on the long-term account. So we'll see if the bounce holds and we get a higher high this week, in which case we'll be very, very happy campers. But so long as these support lines don't break, this is a no-brainer. We're going to be trading it up until that changes. That is the end of our charts for this week. Setups we see in progress. Of course, on the pound pairs, Brexit taking center stage yet again. They're in the tail end of deliberations and negotiations with the European Union, mainly regarding trade. And of course, we have a do or die deadline at the end of the year when the UK is going to exit the European Union with or without a deal. That is the current scenario. So we're waiting for some sort of announcement of what that's going to look like, which will in turn make the pound either strengthen or weaken. At this point, I think strengthen is the flavor. But again, if it goes in the other direction, we'll trade it in that direction. We do not care. All we want to do is make profit. The dollar pairs, of course, are subject to the election happening in about 2.5 weeks or so. On the actually less than 2 weeks, about 10 days now until the election. So nothing else matters. Everything regarding the dollar is going to be focused on who wins the election or what sort of election we get. This may be one of those elections which are very rare in the US where the results take a long time to come out. The last time we had a very long and delayed result was with Bush Jr., so George W., when the election was pretty much in disarray. There was no clear winner, and it had to go all the way to the Supreme Court to decide who won. If we see a repeat of that, it's going to be a shambles along with everything else going on in the US. So what happens on election day matters a lot and will definitely affect the dollar no matter who wins. And even more so if the results are delayed for whatever reason. Australia, and I touched upon this in this presentation, I think the Australian dollar might be overextended. It might have lost some of its luster in recent weeks, and there might be a chance for a reversal. I'm not saying that will happen, but I'm saying that the everything coming out seems to indicate that that is a high possibility. So stay tuned for that. The Swiss pairs, the Swiss seems to be on the brink of moving. The question is going to be, it's definitely going to be a reaction. So the Swiss pairs are going to be reacting to whatever happens in the UK and in the US. So they will either gain or lose strength accordingly. I don't think the Swiss economy in and of itself is going to be moving the Swiss franc, but what happens in the UK and the US will definitely make the Swiss react. And last but not least, the European pairs, not much to say about them. They might be a bit overextended as well. And we're seeing some of that in play as the euro has a tough time breaking out of resistance. And of course, it does have an interest rate decision this week, as does Canada and Japan. So stay tuned for that. We'll be trading it live. The expectation, of course, is that the interest rate will remain unchanged. If there is a surprise, if they actually do change the rate, the euro will definitely move. And that is it for my presentation. A few words in conclusion, as usual, and I try to focus on something that either grabbed my interest in the past week or whatever. In this case, the jitters. And I just want to reiterate, trading happens in your head. It happens in my head. It doesn't happen out there in the market. If you're worried about this week's results or the last 3 months' result or whatever short-term window you're thinking and you are going to fail. Whenever I'm at a peak, and remember, I trade publicly, I let people see my trades. I let people see my trades in real time when they pay me to see them. Otherwise, I report in the Sunday sessions. But whenever I'm at a peak, I've done really well. I get a ton of signups. And then when the inevitable drawdown happens, because that's always the way it works, you go up and then you retrace and you go up. It's the same as any currency pair you want to look at. Then I get tons of very worried emails. What's going on? Is that going to recover? I ignore both of these situations. I couldn't care less whether people are out there are happy with what I'm doing or sad or frightened or whatever. So I'm ignoring everything. I'm not here to entertain you guys or fulfill your strange ideas about trading. I'm here to make money year over year. And hopefully, those of you who understand that and hitch your wagons to mine, you're going to be making money with me. My trading speaks for itself. My accounts go up, up, up. That doesn't mean they don't retrace. Every now and then they do. And I always end up recovering and going on to higher highs. Go look at Dunn Capital. That's one of my favorite hedge funds. Go look at the yearly returns since they started. I'm not going to wait for you to do that. That's homework. Go ahead and look for them. But you'll see that they go up for a while and then they retrace 40, 50%. I don't think they've had 50%, but they don't trade at the same high sharp ratio risk level that I do. So they will still have retraces 20%, 30%. Not every year is a winning year, but then they go on to break the top yet again. That's what I'm trying to do. Go look at the results. You'll find them very illuminating. They are a testament to what real trading is like. It's not about winning every day, even every year. It's about winning and making money over time. My aim is to be the same as Dunn Capital. My organization is hopefully will outlive me, and they'll be teaching people to do the same thing I do. And at some point, some of these people will be taking over when I decide I'm done or when the universe decides it's done with me. So, what about you? Are you trying to be done capital, or are you trying to just focus on the weekly results? Don't give me an answer. Just think about it and hopefully achieve some sort of enlightenment. That is going to be it for me this session. Does anybody have any comments or questions before we drop off? Okay, folks, as always, I thank you very much for being with us, and we will be back tomorrow. Those of you who are subscribers, check your emails for the exact schedules and logins. The rest of you, I guess I'll see you next Sunday. Have a good one.